Almost there.
Then we ordered a new type of table, and it'll actually have the monitor and stuff underneath the table there, so have to peer over the top to see.
All right, Patrick, we're good to go.
All right, great, thanks. Welcome everyone to the June Mine Land Reclamation Board meeting for 2023. Got a pretty short agenda today, so we'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. I'll start off with roll call first for board members. Ms. Nelson.
She's out today, Patrick. Sorry about that.
Okay. Absent. Mr. Mock.
Present.
Mr. Redmond.
Sorry, gotta unmute. Present.
You're good, thanks. Ms. Wareham.
Present.
And Mr. Singletary.
Here.
Mr. Mock, is he there? Oh, he's there in person. Okay, thank you. All right, first item is the approval of the May minutes. Was there any questions or concerns about that? Hearing none. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Tim Mock.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Mock and a second from Mr. Singletary. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes for the approval of summary of our May 2023 meeting minutes. I'm not seeing any we did have some continuances, didn't we? From last week?
Actually, no, we don't. We
Okay.
do have from last month that got put on.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was Butala.
Butala, yeah, so, yeah, that was continued to this month, yes.
Yeah, that was continued to this month.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, and next up, it looks like we have the Executive Director Office report and the Division Director's report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Director Brandon. Tim Mock, Deputy Director for the Department of Natural Resources. A handful of updates here for the department. The Executive Director's Office will be adding 2 new staff. We finally have hired a tribal liaison. Stacy Coleman will be joining us from the Department of Justice, where she's worked for the last 20 years as senior counsel. And then we've hired Tim Brass for the Assistant Director for Parks, Wildlife, and Lands. Mr. Brass will be joining us from Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, where he's worked for the past 20 years and has helped grow that organization significantly. Some updates kind of around the division of the department here. Parks and Wildlife is encouraging water users to stay out of the river below Lake Pueblo, below the dam there. The flows are exceeding 3,000 cubic feet per second. That translates to a rate of equal to 1 cubic foot per water per second, or about 7.5 gallons per second. Prior to this surge, the water was just being discharged at just about 200 CFS or less. On June 14th, Next Era Energy hosted a turning on ceremony at the Thunderwolf solar installation in El Paso County that is located on state trust land. The site will generate 200 plus megawatts of energy, plus have battery capacity to store 100 megawatts. Just for a matter of reference, 1 megawatt generates enough electricity to power 525 homes for a year. The site will be one of the largest producers of solar energy in the country. Colorado River update, on Thursday, June 15th, the Department of Interior announced a formal process to develop future Lake Powell and Lake Mead operating guidelines, often called the post-2026 negotiations. The new guidelines will replace the 2007 Colorado River interim guidelines, which govern the reservoir operations through 2026. Formal process to initiate environmental impact statement was announced through a notice of intent on the Federal Register, and the next steps will include public input, tribal nation consultation, and the development of alternatives as required under NEPA. The NOI will be available for public comment until August 15th, 2023. Also, you might have, if you remember, we were awarded a Colorado River Commission position from the state legislature's budget process this year. Rebecca Mitchell, director of the CWCB, has transitioned to full-time Colorado River Commissioner, and will be posting for a new CWCB director soon. The avalanche numbers for the season are finally in. The season, which runs October 1st to May 31st. We had 5,792 avalanches reported. 900 of those were human triggered. 122 people were caught in avalanches and 11 people were killed. And then finally, the Colorado State Forest Service awarded $9.5 million to local governments spanning 16 Colorado counties. In this first year, the incentives for local government grant program will fund 28 forest management and wildfire mitigation projects around the state. All awardees have established dedicated revenue sources to fund local forest management or wildfire mitigation efforts on a long-term basis. The grant funds help them continue this commitment. Local efforts to reduce wildfire risk are vital for the safety of all Coloradans, and the funding will treat about 7,500 acres and support dozens of jobs dedicated to implementing wildfire mitigation measures and educating private landowners throughout these counties. And that concludes my report.
Can I ask a
Mr.
question?
Mock? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Singletary.
Just curiosity, since I got you here, Tim, I always have to pick your brain for information. Do you have any idea what the fill level is on Blue Mesa? And secondly, do you know what's happening on the wild and scenic designation for Deep Creek up by Flat Tops?
I don't have that at hand, Mr. Singletary, but let me see if I can do a little poking around and see if I can get something before the meeting is over.
Well, if it's convenient, but yeah, I appreciate it.
You bet.
Any other questions for Mr. Mock right now? Hearing none. All right, thanks. Jenny, go ahead and give your update. Thanks.
Okay, first, Jenny Brannon, Division Director. Good morning, everybody. I apologize to those in 318. I had every intention of being there in person, but I woke up nauseous and weak. And sometimes that happens, and when it does, Tammy comes and gets me. But on board meetings, it's, she's running around. So anyway, I just couldn't do the mile walk in. So anyway, okay, so I think I've talked to you about Schwarzwalder numerous times in the past. It's a uranium mine up in Jefferson County above Ralston Reservoir. Ralston is a drinking water supply for both Denver and Arvada. And the operator is leaving. And so we were scrambling to figure out how we were going to operate the treatment plant this summer. It just needs to run for a few months in the summer. And we figured that out, and we're hiring an outfit called Lancero, and they'll do it. And then going forward, we're going to need a more solution. So we're putting our heads together now to come up with that. So when late spring comes next year, we won't be scrambling. We'll have a solution, have it all figured out. And we are pretty well bonded. We're at about 7.6 million. I don't know, Russ, you can correct me. But unfortunately, that's not enough to run it in perpetuity. It is enough to run it for the next at least 15 years, maybe 20. So EPA at some point may need to step in on that site. it was a pre-law site, uranium site, as you know. And it was permitted post-law. And then Cotter, which had it, sold it to Cotter Legacy Lands. And with the succession of operators. So anyway, Cotter Legacy Lands is bidding us farewell. And so we need to take it over. And then EPA probably will eventually. So that is that. Russ is going to end our morning with a riveting discussion of the work we're doing on notice. And the genesis of that is the public is often really frustrated with notice. Like, well, we didn't get notice. We, posted it in the paper. We did everything we always do pursuant to statute. And like, we don't read the paper, right? Nobody gets the paper anymore. I mean, so, that's antiquated, and they're right. It is. And so we're trying to pull out of the 1950s on that front and shore up how we're providing notice in a meaningful way that accommodates how people communicate in 2023, as opposed to 1950. And that's about all I have, unless somebody has questions or comments.
Any other questions or comments for Division Director Brannon? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Brannon. Looks like we're up next to our consent agenda. And it was for a modification of corrective action required from the March 18th, 2022 board order. Mr. Bowles, do we have an update on that?
Morning, members of the board. This is Jared Ebert. Brock Bowles is not able to be here today. But yeah, essentially, we've been working with the operator to get them into compliance with the original board order. They have an application in-house that we've been reviewing. They've kind of hit some snags with right of entry, and those became insurmountable until they were able, I guess, to purchase some surrounding property so they can access the proposed mine site. But given that, they also have decided they want to mine some other land within that parcel. And so they would like the opportunity to come in with a 112 D application as opposed to a 110 D, which is what was specified in the board order. So we want to, be able to accommodate that. So it's just a kind of a modification of the board order to allow them to apply for the appropriate reclamation permit and to have some additional time to get into compliance. And we are in support of that.
And did they provide a response for you all, given the letter that was sent out?
Yeah, they did sign the consent agreement, and that should be in the board packet, where they agreed with the modification of the board order, and they're aware of it, and we've been talking with them about it moving forward.
Great. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ebert? All right, I think we're good. I would entertain a motion.
So move. You want a motion to accept the consent agenda, correct?
Correct.
I'll move it.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Singletary.
Second, now Wareham.
Second from Ms. Wareham. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you all. Next up, we have an enforcement hearing for file number M-2006-031 for Steel Rose 1 Inc. Mr. Russell, I believe you're presenting. We'll can begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Morning, members of the Mineland Reclamation Board. This is Elliot Russell with the Division of Reclamation, Mining and Safety. I'm here to present enforcement hearing for permit number M-2006-031, Steel Rose 1. This enforcement hearing is in consideration of a possible cease and desist order, corrective actions, civil penalties, permit revocation, and finding the financial warranty subject to forfeiture for failure to submit the annual report, map, and fee. This enforcement hearing is a little unique as the operator is not in attendance nor will be contesting this, as this is a voluntary revocation and forfeiture. On April 23rd, 2023, the division received a copy of a letter the operator sent to the U.S. Forest Service, letting the division know that the Forest Service that the mine permit could end and that the bond could be forfeited. Shortly after that, I had contact with the operator, Mr. Scott West, the vice president of Steel Rose 1. He informed me that the president of the company, his mining partner, Philip Brugerman, had passed away in 2022, and that the BLM claims had expired. The U.S. Forest Service plan of operations had actually expired at the end of 2021, and that he physically did not have the means to reclaim the site. On May 10th, 2023, the annual report, map, and fee was due, and no submittal was received. Therefore, on May 22nd, the division mailed an RTB letter and notice of today's hearing to the operator. This site is a 110-2 gold and silver mine surface. The disturbance at the site has remained unchanged since the inspection and last surety increase from a couple of years ago, where the division required an additional $7,000 to be posted. The bond is adequate as the site has not had an increase in disturbance since that inspection. For today's enforcement hearing, the statutes violated and their descriptions. This involves Colorado Revised Statutes 34, 32, 116.3, where on the anniversary date of the permit each year, the operator shall submit a report and map showing the extent of current disturbances to the affected land. Also, Colorado Revised Statute 34, 32, 116.4, all operators shall submit, in addition to the plan and map, an annual fee. History of violations: the operator did have a previous violation that they abated through an amendment. It was for failure to protect areas outside their permit boundary back in 2013. Staff's recommendations to the board. Staff recommends the board find the operator in violation for failure to submit the required annual report, map, and fee due May 10th, 2023, in accordance with CRS 34, 32, 116, sections 3 and 4. Staff recommends the board impose no corrective actions. Staff recommends the board issue a cease and desist order prohibiting any further mining activities at the site pursuant to CRS 34, 32, 124, 2A. Revoke permit number M 2006-031 pursuant to CRS 34, 32, 124, 6A. Impose a civil penalty in the amount of $259 pursuant to CRS 34, 32, 124, 7, and waive all of the civil penalty. Direct staff to schedule a board hearing for forfeiture of the financial warranty and provide proper notice hearing to the operator and the financial warrantor in accordance with the provisions of CRS 34, 32, 118, section 2. And with that, the enforcement presentation is ended, and I am welcome to answer any questions for the board.
Any questions for staff at this time? All right, hearing none. Feel like I could take a motion to take on staff recommendations. There's no other further discussion.
I would move that we accept staff's recommendations.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from Mr. Singletary and Mr. Mock. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, staff, for that presentation and update. Moving right along, we have another enforcement hearing for file number M-2000-089 for Ms. Vasquez. Mr. Lenberg, do you have an update for us?
Yep. My name is Patrick Lenberg, and I'll be representing the division in this matter. This is an enforcement hearing for the Purdue site, M-2000-089, permitted to Mary Vasquez. The hearing is for the consideration of final forfeiture of the financial warranty in accordance with CRS 3432.5-118, parent 2. I'll be reading from my presentation form that you should have in your packet. If you want, I can put it on the screen. If not, I'll just read from the presentation form. The basis for permit revocation forfeiture of financial warranty. In the board order signed on April 7th, 2023, the board found the financial warranty for permit M-2000-089 to be subject to forfeiture under CRS 3432.5-118, parent 1, parent B, for the operator's failure to cure a default under its performance warranty. Pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-118, parent 2, when the board has reason to believe a financial warranty is subject to forfeiture, it shall so notify the operator and all financial warrantors. The board shall grant the operator and all financial warrantors the right to appear before the board at a hearing to be held not less than 30 days after the party's receipt of such notice. Pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-118, parent 3, parent B, or parent A, sorry. At the hearing held pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-118, parent 2, the board may withdraw or modify any determination that the financial warranty is subject to forfeiture, settle or compromise the determination, or confirm its determination that the financial warranty should be forfeited. DRMS mailed the notice of enforcement hearing for forfeiture of financial warranty to the permittee pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-118, parent 2. DRMS holds a cash bond from the permittee for the site, so a separate notice for additional financial warrantor was not necessary. To date, the permittee has not cured the default of its performance warranty, and therefore the financial warranty is subject to forfeiture. Staff recommendation: confirm the determination that the financial warranty should be forfeited in accordance with CRS 34-32.5-118, parent 3, parent A. Issue an order directing affected financial warrantors to immediately deliver to the board all amounts warranted by applicable financial warranties in accordance with CRS 34-32.5-118, parent 3, parent B. And that concludes my presentation. I'm open to any questions should anybody have it.
Thank you, Mr. Lemberg. Are there any questions from the board at this time? All right, hearing none. With that, I think we would take a motion to either take the staff recommendation or take any augmented version, but any, yeah,
Patrick, sorry.
yeah.
I'm not sure if the operator's here, if you want to.
Oh, yeah. Is there a representative here for the operator that would like to provide any additional information for us?
The operator is not present.
All right, thank you. Is there, yeah, shall we proceed?
Sure.
Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, move on into deliberations and see next step.
Okay. All righty. Is there any further discussion at this time? If not, we can take a motion.
I'll move in regards to permit number M-2000-089. That the board confirm the determination that the financial warranty should be forfeited in accordance with CRS 34-32.5-118 parent 3 parent A. And that the board issue an order directing affected financial warrantors to immediately deliver to the board all amounts warranted by applicable financial warranties in accordance with CRS 34-32.5-118 parent 3 parent B.
Thank you, Mr. Mock. We have a motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Singletary. Any further discussion at this time? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes in the determination for M-2000-089. Thank you all for that additional information. Next up, we have another enforcement hearing, moving right along, for Blue Mountain Stone Inc., file number M-1981-075. We'll hear from staff to hear an update.
My name is Patrick Lindberg, and I'll be representing the division in this enforcement action. This is the Philip Stone Company site, M-1981-075, permitted to and operated by Blue Mountain Stone Inc. It is an enforcement hearing for the consideration of a possible violation, cease and desist order, corrective actions, and civil penalties for failure to first obtain from the board or office a reclamation permit prior to engaging in a new operation for affecting more than 2 acres outside the existing permit boundary. The site is located approximately 2 miles north of Lyons, Colorado, in Boulder County. The permit is a 1-ton-C operation for 9.9 acres for the mining of sandstone. The post-mining land use is residential, and the existing bond is $17,180. A conversion application was submitted on June 23rd, 2022, and considered filed for review on September 27th, 2022. Responses to the division's preliminary adequacy review dated October 19th, 2022, remain outstanding. Here is a permit boundary map from Amendment 1 done back in 2005. Here's an aerial image with the permit boundary from the inspection that was performed in 2017 as part of a succession of operators application where the permit was transferred into Blue Mountain Stone's name. Here's the permit boundary map from the 2023 inspection. The red outline is the permit boundary from 2017. And the orange outline is the permit boundary as determined from the permit boundary markers marked in the field during the inspection. Here's a disturbance map from the 2023 inspection. You can see the areas outlined in light and dark blue, which are associated with the mining operation. They consist of a storage area that is approximately 1.4 acres in size, and then a road that was put in along the western side of the permit. Here's an image of the storage area where marketable material has been stored along with equipment and miscellaneous materials. Here's another view of that storage area. As you can see, the palletized marketable materials. This is a view of the road. It is looking south. The primary permit or pit area is to the left of the photo, offsite, out of view. This is a view of the northwest permit boundary marker. As you can see, the road goes outside and around that permit boundary marker. Here's a brief chronology. March 20th, 2023, the division performed a pre-operation inspection as part of the conversion application. During that inspection, 2.1 acres were determined to be affected outside the approved permit boundary. These areas include a marketable material storage area and a new road around the pit area. Other problems noted during the inspection were incorrectly placed permit boundary markers. On May 8th, 2023, the division sent the operator a reason to believe a violation exists and notice of board hearing letter. And that was received by the permittee on May 15th, 2023. Reasons for violation. 2.1 acres affected outside of the permit boundary. Those acres meet the definition of affected lands pursuant to Rule 1.1 Parent 3, and they are part of a mining operation pursuant to Rule 1.1 Parent 30. CRS 34-32.5-123 Parent 2, an operator who mines substantial acreage beyond the approved permit boundary may be found to be operating without a permit. The operator must obtain a reclamation permit from the border office prior to engaging in a new operation pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-109 Parent 1. Staff recommendation. Find the operator in violation of CRS 34-32.5-109 Parent 1 for failure to obtain a reclamation permit prior to engaging in a new operation. Issue a cease and desist order prohibiting any further mining activities except those activities approved by the division in writing as necessary to comply with the conditions of the order, prevent damage to offsite areas, or to protect public health and safety until the corrective actions have been resolved to the satisfaction of the division. Corrective actions. Obtain approval of the current conversion application under review prior to the decision date, September 27th, 2023, which is also the 365-day time limit for the application. Submit the appropriate financial warranty amount as determined by the division during the review of the conversion application within 60 days of the date the application is approved. Civil penalties. Pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-123 Parent 2, The minimum penalty is $1,000 per day, not to exceed $5,000 per day. CRS 34-32.5-123, parent 4, the board shall assess a civil penalty in the amount necessary to cover costs incurred by the division in investigating the alleged violation. At this point, the division has 5 hours of staff time at $56.64 per hour. There are 45 days of violation from May 8th, 2023, the date on the RTB letter, to today's date, June 21st, 2023. Civil penalty recommendation: assess a penalty of $50,000. Suspend all but $4,783.20 if the operator complies with the corrective action. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the board for Mr. Lindberg at this time? Hearing none, is the operator present?
They are.
All right. Would they
Yes.
like to have a rebuttal here?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
The question I have, okay, I know, I understand. And that's why we're applying for a 112 to get some of the overburden, right? But on the bottom there where you.
Mr. Chair, I think we need to get his name and when he,
Oh.
I think we need.
Okay.
yeah. Can
Yeah,
you
fine.
please state your name, sir, and who
Raul
you're with?
Raul Vasquez, owner of Blue Mountain Stone.
Thank you.
All right, so the thing I have is like I told Mr. Patrick, right? If that's the case, I used it for a loading dock, okay? Now, if that's the case, it's out of the boundary and all that, I own the property, right? So what I'll do is move all the rock back in there, level it out again and use it for a parking lot to park my trailers there. And I'm not causing no problem being out of the boundary. Now, the road that we built in the back is to get, because we run cattle on that property. We got 100 and, counting my sister-in-law next door to me, we got about 100 and something. And then Buster's, we feed cows there, and then I got property above there. They belong to Bill Cowie. So we have gates in between property, okay? So, and I told him specifically, it was a road that we built to get around instead of going through the mine, okay? Now, down here where he says a loading dock, well, yeah, it is a loading dock because like the way Amshaw says, sometimes I don't want you guys to be putting the big trucks in there, make a patio. So we made a patio. But if that is the reason that we're out, I will go back in there, move all my rock, put it back in the hole where it goes in the pit, and I'll reclaim all that and park my trailers with gravel. That's what I can do. And the road, I think the road it can stay there because it's a road to get back in there. Because I own the pit and I own the property. That's the problem. So regardless of what, if I reclaim it, I'm still gonna make it as a patio for my equipment, not equipment, but my trailers, my cattle trailers, whatever I want to put there, because it's my property. Am I wrong or right? Any questions? And that's all I'm saying. And that's why I was applying for a 112 to see, but you guys are making it so hard for me on a 112. You're making it sound like it's a gravel pit, but it's not a gravel pit, you know? How do you talk back?
Mr. Ortiz, do you mind if I ask a question of the operator?
Go ahead, Ms. Wareham. Yeah.
Mr. Vasquez, are you still interested in applying for a 112C?
I've been doing it. My daughter's doing it. The problem is that they make it so hard. We're not a gravel pit. You know, the only thing we use on these quarries is picks and shovels, bars, wedges. And we have muck buckets. We have a loader. Sometimes we have an excavator. Sometimes we have the dozer just to push some stuff. And that's what we do. And if you look at the property, since I was a kid, there's not that many trees in it because it didn't really grow that much. And the only thing that grows up, there's those pine trees. So but they're making it so hard for me. I'm not a gravel pit.
Just because, they were talking about one of the corrective actions being to obtain approval of the current conversion under review prior to September 27th of 2023. If you were still interested, is that a reasonable time
No.
frame for you?
Yeah. Okay, let me tell you, now I'm gonna throw my I didn't even sad story. I'm going through problems right now with my brother and my mom. Okay, my brother Abe was the one who was doing it, but he got sick. They found cancer in him in December. And that's what we're dealing with. We're short in staff with me and Bobby and Abe, but Abe's not here. And Patrick wants us to do this. Patrick wants us to do this, or the board. It doesn't ring a bell for doing stone because we're not gravel pits. We're not big mining operations. Right now we have what, about 14 guys working in that pit. And the only thing we go after, I can be out of my boundary, is the overburden that we pile up because it's so tight in there, right? But all the coring is inside that little yellow thing where we quarry. Because I've had a permit since 1981, but I used to work at Buster's when I used to lease. There's a different story. When you lease, you got to follow your rules because you got to cover it the way it is and blah, 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 right?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Are there any further questions in regards to what's been presented here?
So Patrick, I actually have.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Redmond.
Yes. It's more of a clarification, I guess. By the staff or whatever. I'm assuming there's a list of actual activities in the permit that are related to them. I think one of the questions here is what's related to mining and what's not. Or at least that's what the operator seems to be talking about. So could somebody shed a little bit of light on that for me? Perhaps there's a list of activities that are associated with the permit. Other activities that he would do on his private land would be subject to other land use or other things outside our purview or whatever. But how do we understand that situation? What's inside the permit and what's not, as far as activities that would be inside or outside the border of the permit?
Can I say something?
Well,
Okay.
Jared, go ahead and then I'll
Well,
say something.
Let staff answer that first, Mr. Vasquez. Thank you.
I understand.
Yeah. So Patrick can probably speak better to what is all approved in that particular permit. But the activity that he witnessed during his inspection meets the definition of a mining operation and the definition of affected land. Patrick, is there, I guess I'm not as familiar with the file, is there a point in the permit area where he was supposed to be stockpiling material?
It was, it was supposed to be within the permit area. There was really no areas within the currently approved 110 permit boundary that allowed for the stockpiling and storage of marketable materials. So the definition of affected lands includes parking and storage for waste discharge areas. And so the storage area meets the definition of affected lands because that is where he was stockpiling his marketable material, at which point he would then transport them offsite to his yard down in Lyons. And then, affected land, it meets the affected lands is within the definition of a mining operation.
Mr. Chair, this is Russ Means for the division. I'd like to give a little bit of historical reference and stuff in that to the question. The board has historically looked at roads that are built. It's always an easy out and stuff to say it's being used for other activities. But through the course of hearing these type of arguments and stuff, that the board has looked at the fact that the road is being used for mining activities. Well, it can certainly be used for other things, and in the end, it may be utilized by the landowner for other purposes. But by definition, that road is still being part of the affected land because it's being used as part of the mining operation. The same thing goes for areas for stockpiling and putting mining equipment and stuff there. By definition, that is all considered affected lands. So the board has historically and stuff looked at this and ruled and stuff that these are lands that are part of the mining operation and that they must be included in the permit. So that's why we're here today. Staff has brought this forth and stuff and that based on those past precedents, if you will. So while Mr. Vasquez and stuff and that may very well use this for other purposes, the point of it is that he's stockpiling material in that area, in that parking area. He's parking his mining equipment in that area, and he's constructed a road that is being used for the mining operation. And that's why we're here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Means. Is there I'm just wondering if that time period, like Ms. Wareham had mentioned that, September 27th, 2023, Mr. Vasquez, you said that was an amenable time period to, get the proper documentation in, so you can just proceed without being kind of under the scrutiny that's currently being put upon you.
Can you give me at least to 1st of December?
Mr. Chair, Russ Means again, the reason that date is set is because we're at 365 days for the application. So that kind of puts us in a time frame and stuff there. I believe in stuff that the board can extend that and stuff beyond the 365 if they wish. But Patrick, how close are we on that?
We have not received responses to our preliminary adequacy review that we sent out in October.
So we'd like the board to note and stuff that that's been out for a long time and we haven't had any responses from the applicant. So, but do what you need.
Can I say something now?
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Vasquez.
Because the way it's written here, we got September 27th, right? And Patrick told us we have to have everything together to give to him to turn it in. But the problem I'm having too is my surveyor guy, he's not in yet, but once he gets here, we'll survey again. It's surveyed. We already surveyed for the permit area. It's just some paperwork that we need to finish because they're making it sound like we're a sand and gravel pit. And they send it once, but I think it was denied. And I don't know. So if you can give me the September 27th, if I don't finish it, well, the penalty. But what I'm going to, for now, what I can do is move all my rock out of there, put it back in the hole and reclaim that and then park my trailers there. Because I got trailers too. And some of this equipment belongs to me that are in the private. They're junk machinery laying there. And I just don't, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Staff, the work he's willing to do to kind of fix that violation, is that as we wait for the additional documentation prior to September 2023? Is it good that you're hearing he's willing to put in that work to fix some of those issues?
While we certainly appreciate the willingness to do some preliminary reclamation on that area, it doesn't really alleviate the violation. I mean, it's land that's affected that we haven't approved. So the corrective action is to get it approved, get a reclamation plan in place for that area. Yeah, so again, yeah, we appreciate it, but that doesn't alleviate what we need to get into compliance in this instance.
But, and so just a clarification by Mike, Mr. Chair, then,
Understood. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Mock.
thank you. We're not even asking him to put this stuff back in the hole. It's just cease and desist until you get your application and permits in place. So we're not even asking him to do any additional work, and we don't need to put rock back in the hole or move anything around. We just need to get the permits in compliance here. So that's it.
If I may, a follow-up on Mr. Mock's question there. What would the cease and desist pertain to? Just anything happening on those 2.1 acres or all of his operations?
Just the 2.1 acres, and it's kind of the pleasure of the board if they don't want him hauling, the product out of there until he gets into compliance. That could be part of it. That might provide some incentive to get this done a little more quickly. That's kind of up to you guys if you feel that's necessary.
I feel like that's a good compromise around accountability. Is there any further discussion needed at this time?
I think we need to ask Mr. Vasquez if he's willing to sit down and go ahead and complete that permit in that time frame. If we can work it out with him. We're kind of in a place here where there's certainly an answer. We just need to get it done.
I understand that. The problem I got, if you're gonna seize that corner, then I can't get the rock that's already there, stockpiled on pallets? Is that what you're saying?
We haven't made that decision yet. I guess we would like to hear from you and see if you're willing to go ahead and complete a successful permit on getting the rest of your land in compliance.
Yeah, I'll try to finish it by the 27th or September 4th. That's it if we don't get rejected again.
Say that again.
We'll try to finish it. As long as to see if it doesn't get turned back again like it did the first time. I think it was wrong. But we'll try it. We'll get it.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the quicker it's in, the more time we have to review it or the staff has to review it and make any other additional requests. So I think that's yeah, I'm glad we're kind of on the same page there.
I have a question, Mr. Ortiz,
Yeah.
the operator. So Mr. Vasquez, is that the only place that your saleable stockpile material is currently sitting?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to kind of figure this out. Clearly you understand the process enough to know that you were going to go beyond your affected lands. You needed to upgrade your 112C permit. I think sometimes we run into operators that just are like egregiously choose to not acknowledge this, but I don't feel like that's the case right now. I think that considering I'm trying to follow the letter of the law within a cease and desist order on these certain elements. Obviously, we don't want you building more roads or doing more work in that area, but this is a business. We know how these operations go. Sounds like you've got a pretty small scale operation employees wise and stuff. I'm guessing, seasonal Colorado, there's an element that you have to actually do your work, which means summer season's tight. Up against this September 27th timeframe, which quite frankly wouldn't really do your business any good, for what you've kind of got going on there now. So I just kind of would really like to understand the impacts of that and how that affects your business if we go through this, if either staff or Mr. Vasquez could help talk us through this so that we can make a reasonable judgment here. I think we have a balance to make sure that the lands of Colorado are intact, but we also have a responsibility to our businesses as well, and independent business.
Okay, so if he sees this little 2 acre that it's out of the boundary, I can always put stockpile my rock inside the property, inside the permitted area, the rock that's been dug out, and then the truck will go in there. But Amshaw keeps on telling me it's too bad, it's not that great to send one of my flatbeds in there. And that's the reason why I did it. And then plus, if I would have converted it into a stone yard there, it doesn't need a permit. Am I wrong or right? But I didn't do it because I have my stone yard down in Lyons, right? And that's it. But I can get out of there right now, like I was telling you. I'll call Caesar, what do you want to do? Finish the permit, and then we should go. Because anyhow, I own the property regardless of what.
So you built this space on the recommendation of MSHA saying that they would prefer that you weren't loading your flatbeds within the active mining area.
Exactly, not to be
Right.
inside, excuse me, not to be inside there where the loader is going back and forth.
Where the loaders are going back and forth. So instead, hey, let's build kind of this little patio area. Let's stockpile saleable material, bring your flatbed in there, bring that operator in there. So that person is not within the active mining area.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm just going to capture this and say, how do we marry something where MSHA is asking one thing, an operator is trying to accomplish this in a safe method, and then sort of penalize them on the other side? I just want to put that out there clearly for those on the board and staff to really think through that one.
Because I really figured if I know we're pulling the rock out of there, and anyhow, it was already flat because there was a couple of old trailers there, the old picture. But then I just cleaned it up and started stockpiling the rock. What I can do now is, if you let me take the rock and go out of, they're on pallets, that's why, pallets, 2-ton pallets, we can take them back out and put them on top, and then we'll just grade it out and wait until we get the permit, and then we can go back to our little storage area. That's what it was, a storage area. Because we have, like I told you, anywhere between 10 to 12. And now, anyhow, and I'm gonna be honest with you, when we quarry there, if one guy works with me 7 years, he'll still be in that same quarry, 7 years in the same pocket that he's following that vein, but it doesn't go any further out. The reason why I'm playing for a 112 is so we can put some of that overburden outside the permit, and then that way it's not inside or the mine.
Mr. Chair, this is Russ Means. Can I respond to the board's question?
Absolutely, Mr. Means. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, there's two parts to that. First, staff doesn't have any objections and stuff, but under the cease and desist order, if he removes already palleted materials, therefore, and that's it's just he shouldn't have affected any further until the permit's done. The second part of the question is about the marriage between MSHA and that we the remedy here is to think ahead in your mining plans and stuff and that, so that you have adequate room to work and stuff and to permit these things before you go out and do something. Where our regulations are separate from MSHA. So MSHA may require some things, but they have to be within the confines and stuff of our rules and regulations. MSHA doesn't have the right, or they don't ask for the right and stuff to have disturbances outside of the permit boundaries. So Mr. Vasquez should have come in and done the permitting and had that approved, which he's had almost an entire year to do before he did that disturbance. That's how it's remedied and stuff, is to think ahead instead of coming in and asking for forgiveness later. So, and that, so.
I'm not asking for forgiveness, like I just said. I broke the law. I thought it was my property. I can do anything I want. Because you can seize it right now, and it's done. And once we get the permit, regardless of what, if I get fined for that, later on, I'll just level it out again and put my trailers. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I own the property. And anyhow, that property is going to go down in a trust fund. So it's going to be around hundreds and some years with the permit. That's all it's gonna do. You know,
And Mr. Means, I understand that as well. You know, I understand that you should go against it. I'm just saying in the sense of lots of other operators that we've run into, sometimes there's just a carte blanche. Hey, I'm just going to go affect this land. I'm just going to go build this road. I'm just going to do this no matter what. All I'm trying to highlight here is that, you know, the reason is let's comply with something. The timing's tough. It is really a difficult balance when you've got, you know, an operator that's kind of trying to run the entire show and, you know, the permitting side of it as well. So I just wanted to also, you know, for our other board members that maybe are not as intimately involved in the day-to-day operations of running a mine, no matter how big or small, that, you know, this is a pretty standard occurrence of, hey, you've got a recommendation from MSHA, you're trying to get something going here. And unfortunately, you know, the timing here is not aligning. But I guess I'm just going to show my cards and say that I'm not feeling like this is an operator that's trying to not be respectful of the process.
can I say another thing? Because,
Yeah, go ahead.
you know, if Cunningham knows my history, when I leave a quarry, if I know it's no good no more, I go back in there and I reclaim it. Like I did in Fifth Avenue, like I did over in Mark, like I've been doing on my other properties, you know? And because I'm a believer not to tear down trees, not to this and that. But if I have to get to the mine where it's at, then I will take the trees out. But when I leave some areas, if I know a quarry doesn't pan out no more, I will cover it. But this quarry has potential for my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, because I know that quarry since I was a little boy. I used to always see that quarry when I was a little boy. And Phillips died. They sold me the property and I got the mine. And that's why I want to get a 112 in case I retire here in 20 years, 15 years, my grandkids or my kids are set. And that's all I'm trying to do. But I will not leave you a quarry undisturbed. If it's no good to me, I will reclaim it and get it done with that. And they know Patrick's seen my work, or I can't remember the other guy's name from Larimer County. He's seen my work, what I do. And then to be honest, the trees grow by themselves because they do. The only thing they like is those ponderosa pines up there. I'm not going to, like she just said, I'm not a flight for, you know, just come in night and fly. No, I'm a native from the quarries, born and raised in that mountain, and I'm still here. I did it wrong, you know?
All right, thank you, Mr. Vazquez. Well, I think we've discussed kind of, go ahead. Who's that?
Yeah, this is Jerry with the division. It's all right if I just make one last statement.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's important to recognize that the path towards compliance has already been initiated. I mean, we have a conversion application in-house. We're not opposed to him, you know, utilizing this to grow his business and all that. We just want to get the proper paperwork in place so we have a reclamation plan and a bond for that area. Just like all the other quarries and sand and gravel operations, construction material sites permitted in Colorado. And we're part of the way there, but we do need Mr. Vazquez to, you know, read our adequacy review letter and respond to our adequacy review. It's a very typical thing that we go back and forth with all the permittees when they permit, and we're following the same process that we use for all the other stone quarries in that area. So we need him to respond to that, and you know, Patrick is available and I'm available, you know, to, you know, work through that process.
Mr. Vazquez, yeah, I think what we're hearing here is that, you know, these processes are in for a reason, and I know you're doing the right thing while balancing the time frame of trying to get things moving in the summer season. I know how that is, working in a seasonal capacity. So I think, you know, just know that it's not anything directly pointed at your operation and what staff and why these rules and regs are in place. It's just compliance for everyone to have a standard of operation so the landscape can rejuvenate, like you mentioned you're in favor of, and we can make sure we're in compliance as part of the industry, and you know, to make sure we can continue mining in Colorado. It's an important industry, and we need it in our society. So again,
Well, I understand, because I was born and raised in the quarries in the Lanes property, and that's where I grew up. And I didn't make it to high school. I made it to ninth grade, and I went to working in the quarries like my dad had us when we were little kids. And I started my business at the age of 17. I'm still here.
Yeah.
If I didn't respect the laws up there, I just do like, I can't remember her name, what she said, is just come in, dig it all out and just run away. I'm not that way. I like to respect the properties, but like I said,
absolutely. Yeah.
I got out of my boundary. I figured that's my property. I can make a nice patio there to load my rock and I don't have to be inside there, doing all that. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest. I miss my brother Abe because he's the one that does a lot of it. My daughter, she's busy with something else. And me, I don't got to school, say. And we talked to some attorneys because Patrick told us some attorneys. We asked them what to do. At first they told us, say 10,000 do it. And then all of a sudden they jumped to 20,000, then 25,000. Well, you can't afford it in this business. And right now, I'll be honest with you, I had visas. I got winter visa. Now all my guys are leaving end of this month because I don't got no more visas. Say, so the quarries are going to shut down again. And I'll be honest with you, this year it's kicking my ass, but I'm still here. Why should I lie? So we'll find another attorney, see if they won't change. And Bobby, because Patrick's sent Bobby the attorneys, but like I was telling you, once they see what they need to do, at first they said 10 and they start jumping up. It's just hard out here in Colorado. So
We hear that. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Any other questions, comments?
Let me
Mr.
make a
Singletary?
comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Vasquez, maybe I can make a suggestion. And I appreciate where you're coming from. And, it's frustrating when you have your own property and you're told you can't use your own property. But I hear you when it comes to attorneys. Why don't you set up an appointment with our staff and go over and put it together a little outline time-wise to see what you need to do. You may not need to do near as much as you think you are, and maybe they can send you the right direction. I'd sure think it would be worth your time to sit down with our staff for a half an hour or an hour and come up with a plan.
I understand what you're telling me. I wish I'm an old school guy. I don't know how to run the computer. That's why my daughter's standing over there. That way something happens to her, she can come over and start it for you guys because I don't got to even email. They got the email. I don't run a computer. And I can send my daughter, I can send my son, one of the two. I just, and I'm busy really, to be honest with you, because now I got to run here, run over there. I got to run south, it's just, put it this way. My dad taught me a little thing when I was little. When you hold water in your hands like this, and once you start dripping, you're over your head now. You need to quit, and that's the way I feel right now with the pressure. When my dad was alive, at least he was still with me. He was working for me, taking care of this and that. And it was a lot better, but now I'm by myself with this, what can I do? But if they let me send my daughter or Manny to go down there and do it, I would rather let them go.
I don't think that'd be a problem.
Because I'll be honest with you, I can't run computers.
Just a question for Patrick. So he needs to respond to the adequacy review letter, right? I'm guessing you have some questions in there. And then once that response happens, then you're able to kind of continue reviewing the 112C application?
That is correct.
And would you characterize the questions in the adequacy review letter as, like as Mr. Singletary suggested, is that something that, you guys can just have a communication phone call, another Zoom or something and walk through that?
Yeah, we would be willing to go through the items one by one and figure out what can be done relatively easily, point them in the direction for other things such as the vegetation and the soil survey and whatnot, that's a website, I can't remember right offhand. what the
Soil
webs-
survey.
Yeah, the web soil survey, stuff like that. Yeah, we're more than willing and very receptive to, going through those questions as needed and then coming up with a game plan on how to respond and move up forward in that fashion.
Because what I'm kind of hearing here is, here's an operator that knows their operation in and out. And I think sometimes when things get put into a certain format, which, clearly needs to make sense from a compliance, standpoint and our rules, probably you guys are closer to speaking the same language than you even know. And it just takes a little bit of face-to-face just to say, hey, actually, this is all this means, or this is what this looks like. It's not a huge deal. But I think sometimes, things can feel overwhelming in that sense. And there's just no sense in, making the divide even further. Let's just get together here and hash this out.
For sure.
And
I
so
think
that-
it's a great idea.
It's because Corian is a lot different. It's like back in the 80s, Maxine and all those old board went up to my quarry and he seen what we did. It's a lot different from mining. It's all handwork, because a lot of people doesn't know mining. They think it's like underground or gravel. We're not. We're above the, we're just digging rock. And the thing is, so that's why the board went up there back in 81 and 83. And we met up there, and they seen what we did. And that's what we do. That's why it's hard for us on those permits for them to ask us this and questions. We don't got a lot of machinery, to be honest with you. Like I've told Patrick that day, we have an excavator once in a while over here, the dump truck here once in a while, and then they leave. Well, leave a dozer here, and the rest of it are sitting there, they're junk. Because when I bought Phillips, I just threw them out. And the only thing that's in there is the loader or a flatbed. That's all, and wedges and hammers, say. And that's what we do. If we're just pouring
Yeah.
for 10 years, we might make a big dent in it.
Go ahead, Mr. Singletary.
Mr. Velasquez, we need to find a point here where we can make a decision on what the direction might be. Would you be opposed to having your daughter be and is she there? Could we
Yeah, she's
see her? Would she agree to come in and talk to our people? And
She's right here.
and if I understand, Mr. Velasquez, I appreciate where you're coming from. And all I'm trying to do is help find a solution that's viable for both of us.
Yes, I'd be willing to either do a Zoom or come in, because honestly, I'm like a deer in headlights with all the questions that's being asked of me.
And then we're running the business.
And then trying to operate the business. I do all the accounting for my father, and it's hard to do because it's our busy time right now. So
Well, I would tell you the staff will be more than helpful and would be happy, I think, to sit down and visit with you and maybe you could come up with course of action. I would suggest it's up to you to call somebody. Maybe we can have somebody give you a number today and then set up whatever appointment, whether you want to do it in person, which would probably be best, or do a Zoom.
okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. Another thing, the reason nothing's been turned in is because I was told that I should have it all the questions answered before I submit, bits and pieces here and there. So that's why nothing's been turned in.
Let's find out where you sit and the staff will kind of give you an idea of what needs to be done, I think. And I think it'll be time well spent. Maybe we can find a viable solution here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like we're getting close and there's progress happening. I just, if both sides are a little more outward around coming to that compromise, I think we can make this happen and you can continue working toward achieving your goals with the quarry, Mr. Vasquez. So I think we can continue that discussion and have a little bit more intentionality on making sure you're getting the pieces you need to be in compliance again. So with that, I think we need to make a motion to on this matter. If anyone has a good remedy from our discussion today.
Mr. Chair, if I might.
Go ahead,
I'm not going to make a motion just yet. I want to talk this
Yeah.
through. I think the staff's recommendation in terms of the cease and desist continues to hold up just fine here. I do think, Mr. Vasquez, it's go time, and this needs to be a priority. What I'm willing to do is the division is recommending that we assess a total civil penalty of $50,000 with all but $4,783.20 suspended. I'm willing to eliminate the $4,500 civil penalty. We're going to know in a couple months whether this is going to fly or not. I'd like those resources directed towards getting this done by the September 27th date, and just would rather have those funds spent there and bringing this into compliance. So that would just be we'd assess all but $283.20 for staff time would be suspended. And that's kind of what I'm offering. And then I don't know if we've got interest of allowing the movement of what's on the pallets. We'll look for other stick forward direction.
So you're saying that the fine would be $50,000?
If we don't get this complete, I mean, we're approaching a year here, and we've had conversations that have in communications that have gone unresponded to since October. But if we're able to get this done, if this can be a priority, I'm willing to suspend all but $283 of that if we can get this done by September 27th.
Okay, understood. Yeah, I'm gonna, like I said, we'll try to get this turned in as soon as we can get it turned in, so.
Well, before we go, I'd like the staff to give you a phone number so you could get in
Oh,
touch
yes.
immediately.
Okay,
I would be in touch with them often.
Pardon me?
And I'm sorry, I just said that I'd be in touch with staff often through the course of bringing this to completion.
Okay.
And I believe, Patrick, you've been had communications with Bobby. She has your contact information.
Right, she has my email address, and I think that Bobby, you called me yesterday, but didn't leave a voicemail, is that correct?
yes, but I had spoke to Camille, so I got my answers from her.
Okay, yeah, but you do have my my phone number, and I'm more than happy to connect via email or by phone, and we can set up a time and we can walk through what you have and what is outstanding.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I think we're heading toward a path that's more clear, less murky right now. Are we prepared? Is anyone prepared to make a motion encompassing this slight change that Mr. Mock had offered from the office?
Mr. Mark, do you want to memorialize your comments into a motion?
Yeah, I think so. I was just looking to make sure that's the board's feeling that. And then I was looking for direction. What are we thinking about what's on the pallets?
I mean, personally, I agree with, Russ Means is correct that you should map out your mine plans and MSHA compliance, but at the same time, I don't think I'd feel very good about knowingly moving something back into an active mining operation. Should something go wrong with that, we want to be considerate of the land and make sure that there's no damage done, but we also need to be considerate of people. personally, I don't think he should move that back into an active mining operation.
Okay, let me try motion here. I move that in regards to permit number M-1981-075, that the board finds the operator in violation pursuant to CRS 34-32.5-109, parent 1, for failure to obtain a reclamation permit prior to engaging in new operation. That the division issue a cease and desist order prohibiting any further mining activities except for those activities approved by the division in writing as necessary to comply with the conditions of the order, prevent damage to off-site areas, or to protect public health and safety until corrective actions have been resolved to the satisfaction of the division. And that the operator obtain approval of the current conversion application under review prior to September 27th, 2023, the 365-day time limit for the application, and that the operator submit the appropriate financial warranty amount is determined by the division during the review of the conversion application within 60 days of the date the application is approved. And that the board assess a total penalty of $50,000 with all but $283.20 staff time suspended if the corrective actions cited above are completed to the satisfaction of the division within the required deadlines. Am I missing anything, staff?
One moment. Mr. Mock, were you wanting to assess $50,000 total with only including staff time, or is that maybe two separate things?
Two separate things.
Yes, you're
Okay, here we go.
All right. Do we want a second on that?
Second.
Second for Ms. Wareham. Any further discussion right now? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. Mr. Vasquez, I think we created a good compromise here, and I just encourage you and your daughter to just get in touch with staff so you all can communicate on the needs to make sure you can do this the right way and you don't have to come back here and go through this again, so good luck, and yeah, we'll get you in contact as soon as we can.
Okay,
Have a good rest of your day.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Do we want to just continue right now, or would we like a short break? How's everyone feeling?
Quick break would be nice. It's 5 minutes.
Okay. We'll come back. We'll just say at 10:30.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. All right, welcome back, everyone. Looks like we're recording again. Thanks, Cami.
Tim's, we'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Russ.
Yeah.
Can I just ask Cami a quick question? Just an agenda question? Maybe, do I have an older version of the agenda? I don't see item 8 in my links to the agenda. Did it get updated or something since last week?
Yeah, they were actually, there was both, I want to say it's, sorry, I don't have one right in front of me. I think it's 9 and 10. And so we've got number 9, it will be Butala. Thanks, Jeff. And then on number 10 is the declaratory order for Juliet Morse.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I did the same thing this morning. I printed the wrong one, so I had to go get another one. But I downloaded the tentative agenda is what I did, so.
Well, you know,
Okay.
what I could also do is when I send you guys the presentation forms, I'll go ahead and include the final agenda so that you guys have a copy of it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. That'd be helpful. Thanks.
So Cami, if I go back into your original link to the things, is that then updated?
In the Google Drive,
Yeah.
it's not updated there. It is on the virtual bulletin board and under the current agenda on the website.
Okay.
At least I believe you have the final.
I do.
Oh, was that? Sorry, Elise. I missed your A. Perfect.
All right, looks like we got everyone back here. Next up, item 8, enforcement hearing for file number M-2021-049. BEMA Partners. Hunter Riley, go ahead and give your update here.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I am Michael Cunningham. I'll be filling in for Hunter this morning. She is on leave. This item, of course, is an enforcement hearing that was continued from the April board hearing for BEMA Partners, Raindance Reservoir number 2, file number M-2021-049. I'll just note for the board that we do not have a presentation form or a packet that was provided to you in case you think something's missing. We did not prepare one this morning, and I'll explain kind of where we're at. So for the boards, the board.
Mr. Cunningham, just real quick, I'll swear everyone in. That will be doing testimony for this item. Raise your right hand. Is the operator also present?
We do have the operator present.
Okay. Please raise your right hand. Promise to tell the whole truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, proceed, Mr. Cunningham.
Again, in April, this matter first came before the board for failure to protect areas outside of the affected land. If the board recalls, during a monitoring inspection, we discovered that stormwater was being discharged into 2 pre-existing irrigation ponds that were located across the county road and outside of the permit boundary. We had a good discussion in front of the board, and the board directed staff to continue the matter and to work with the operator to find a solution for this. In addition, we had informed the board at that time that we had an open amendment application that was under review. And so through working through the adequacy review issues, we were able to work with the operator to identify an alternate discharge location from their pit that no longer required the utilization of those off-site pre-existing irrigation ponds. So now that water is pumped through a culvert under the road, where it is essentially discharged to a drainage tile and flows to the natural irrigation, or excuse me, natural flow path for that area. Last week on Tuesday, June 13th, Hunter and myself were able to go out to the site and visit with the operator. It was a timely inspection. We were getting quite a bit of rain that day, so we were able to make some observations about how they were actively managing stormwater during that inspection. As many of our operators are dealing with, they had quite a bit of water to manage. The pumps were running at that time, and water was being discharged through the new discharge point. In addition, we made observations of the ponds that they had previously been using. Again, these were pre-existing ponds that had sort of a dual use for that property. Those ponds were essentially empty, except for a little bit of direct precipitation that had collected within them. They were no longer being utilized for the mining operation. They were in good condition. And because they continue to have a use, no reclamation is needed. Under this amendment, which is still under review, I think we'll be approving that here pretty shortly. But the operator has provided us with details on how they're going to manage that stormwater. They've identified a new stormwater location. So with that, because we have believe we found a good solution that rectified this problem, we have no real existing reclamation liability for those two ponds. Staff would like to formally withdraw the possible violation for file number M 2021-049. Happy to take any questions from the board. And in addition, the operator is also here and can answer questions if you have any of them. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Skellen, you can provide additional information. You ready?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add there to Michael's position. Just want to say, from the last board meeting 2 months ago to now, I just felt like a weight was lifted off of us as far as working with staff and whatnot. We actually went down and met with Michael and Hunter the direct week after the last board meeting and started to work with them immediately. And that just helped, getting that face-to-face person contact. And, it's been great working with them since then. And, like Michael said, they came out last week and we had a good site tour in the pouring rain, but nonetheless, we had great conversation out there. Our engineer, who's on the line as well, was with us, and they've been teed up to get all the remaining documentation and corrections on the amendment application into Hunter this week. In fact, by tomorrow. So when she comes back from leave, she's ready to review the final documents. So like Michael said, I think we're right there at the finish line of the amendment process. And yeah, just wanted to shout out and appreciate to the staff working with us through this. I know they're faced with strict regulations and strict codes that are, can be black and white, and that's hard. It's hard to manage to sometime and hold everybody accountable. And I appreciate the position that they're in. And then I also appreciate the position that the board's in as well. And you guys' reasonability towards taxpayers and business operators out there. I mean, it's a huge relief, and I just totally appreciate that in this process and you guys working with us and directing us to work with staff. It was the right call, and I think we're on track and looking forward to wrapping this up. So that's all I got to say. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Skellen. On that, we'll close testimony on that. But was there any other questions or comments from the board at this time? Hearing none. I guess we need a motion to just approve the staff recommendation, or is that necessary?
It's probably not necessary since staff is withdrawing the potential violation. I think it's just good resolution and done.
All right. All right, well, thank you, staff. And Mr. Scallon for coming to a conclusion on this. It's great to have that happen ahead of a hearing like this. So, great. Next up, we have item number 9. Excuse me. Item number 9. File number M-1977-170. This was continued from our May meeting. Mr. West, do we have an update? I think we did see a resolution was created.
Absolutely, yes, sir. As Mr. Ortiz said,
Sorry, I hate to interrupt. Patrick, do you want to swear?
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, everyone providing testimony, will you raise your right hand? And do you swear to tell the truth?
Yes, do.
All right, thank you. Please proceed.
Perfect. As I was saying, my name is Lucas West. I'm the Environmental Protection Specialist joining you out of the Grand Junction Field Office with oversight on this site. Did want to note that in the board agenda, it's noticed as an enforcement hearing, but as was alluded to, we were able to reach resolution in a stipulated agreement. So this is going to be more of a discussion item going over what's in that stipulated agreement, and then as well as field any questions that the board may have. So if you give me 1 second to get my presentation up and share my screen. All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So this item is for the Butala gravel pit, permit number M-1977-170, that's operated by Butala Construction Company. Now, if you'll click and go forward, why not? There we go. So as I stated before, this is just an overview of the stipulated agreement that's been signed by all the parties. But the main focus of the stipulated agreement was for 2 violations. The first is for the failure to comply with the conditions of an order, permit, or regulation pursuant to CRS 34, 32.5, 124, parent 1. The operator had mined into, processed, and sold material from an area designated as a creosote evaluation area within their DRMS permit, which was prohibited by the conditions of their permit. Also, we had a violation for failure to minimize disturbances to the prevailing hydrologic balance pursuant to CRS 34, 32.5, 116, parent 4, parent H, by allowing the discharge of water in excess of its allowable effluent limits set forth in its CDPHE discharge permit. Slide 3 is just going to be a general location map. As you can see there, towards in the middle of the screen is the town of Salida, and the site lies about 2 miles to the northwest of Salida in Chaffee County. Little bit of background information here on slide 4. The site consists of 84 permitted acres total, with most of that being also affected lands. Like I said before, it's about 2 miles northwest of Salida at an elevation of 7,180 feet, and it does lie right on the banks of the Arkansas River. Now, right now for the financial warranty, the division holds $143,158. And during this process, staff calculation shows that it was not sufficient to achieve reclamation. But as part of the stipulated agreement, the operator has agreed to supply the division with an interim financial warranty increase of $312,882 as part of the corrective actions, which we'll go over in a little more detail later. Slide 5 is a little bit more background information on the site. The permit was originally filed in 1977 for about 22 acres, and it was amended in 1998 to its current size. And at that point, it included that creosote evaluation area. But later that creosote evaluation area was designated a Superfund site. But prior to its designation as a Superfund site, the operator did commit to not excavate the area as a condition of approval of the amendment process. The main source of contamination of that area was it was a historic creosote treatment plant used for railroad ties and other treated wood products. Slide 6, a little bit more background on that amendment. The amendment to the permit, which was amendment number 1, was filed on December 19th, 1997, added in about 61.2 acres. Like I said, which included that creosote area. And during that amendment process, several objections and letters of concern were received by the division. Most notably, there was an objection received regarding the possible excavation of that creosote contaminated material. So it was an issue back then that was resolved, we thought at the time. Slide 7 is during that review process, the division sent out an adequacy review in July of 1998 that references specifically that the operator had stated that no mining operations excavations will occur within that creosote evaluation area, and that surface operations relative to stockpiling will occur in this area. So basically they were lining out that we're not going to excavate this area. We're going to use this area for just stockpiling, but we'll leave it as is. And the operator did confirm that in their response on July 29th, 1998, where they explicitly stated for the creosote evaluation area, there will be no mining / excavation activities in the 6.2 acre creosote evaluation area. This information here is a little bit in related to the division's rationale for recommendation of approval of that amendment to the board, specifically in regards to the concerns raised on the excavation of that area. And so for the board members that are not familiar, when we have an amendment in review that has objections, we issue a recommendation to the board, and it's ultimately the board's decision to make that approval or deny that application. And in that recommendation in September of 98, division staff noted that the operator will not mine the 6.2 acre creosote contaminated site. The creosote contamination, according to the EPA, no longer exists at the surface since the area was cleaned up several years ago. The creosote contamination, if any, lies below the surface. That was division staff's justification at the time for allowing that area to be included in the permit under the condition that, it was not to be excavated. And during the September hearing in 1998, the board agreed with the conditions and the details of the application and approved that amendment, which whereby created the permit condition that no mining or excavation would take place in that area. Slide number 9 is a generated map of the site to give you guys kind of a bird's eye view of what we're looking at here. The yellow line, the heavy yellow line around the perimeter is the DRMS permit boundary. And the smaller, let me see, where's my laser pointer here? And the next slide, I will have a more zoomed in view of this map, but the red odd shaped polygon here is the mining restricted area, the creosote evaluation area that was designated by EPA, and the blue line is the buffer area. Those will become important later, or did become important in our discussions, but I wanted to call those out. Also, as you can see, this here is the main stem of the Arkansas River. So the site is right here on the Arkansas. All right, and so here is a zoomed in version of that same figure denoting the mining restricted area, which is synonymous with that creosote evaluation area. The purple shaded area, as you can see here, is the area that was excavated by the operator. They mined into that area, processed and used that material. We'll go over the details of it later, but it ended up coming out to about 0.75 acres of the mining restricted area. Next, we're going to go into a few photographs of the area. So the mining restricted area was delineated by corner markers. This one in particular was just a corner marker. The one on the next slide has a monitoring well associated with it, so that the EPA and their consultants, along with the main party responsible for the site, would be able to collect groundwater samples. But this shows that the area was excavated, was about 20 feet deep, and shows that they did mine around those monuments and leave them in place, but everything around it was excavated. Here's the second corner marker in that northwest corner. This one does have a monitoring well associated with it for groundwater monitoring, but it just highlights the depth of which this area was mined around. We will have some other views that show mining proceeded in the east direction and created a bit of a high wall showing where they had excavated. Slide 13 is a view looking east showing that high wall that was created. Here in all of this is the approximate mining restricted area boundary line between those two buttes. And you can see everything to the east of that was excavated. Another view showing the floor of that excavated area that it's been heavily trafficked and utilized. A little more close-up view. All these photos were taken during the division's February 9th, 2023 inspection. And at that time, the high wall was stable, but we felt like these photos just really illustrate the area that was excavated that should not have been. Slide 16 shows that as the operator was excavating this area, they were using the material, processing it, and the work really didn't cease until as they were going along, they would stockpile these large boulders, but they really didn't stop working until they found these large boulders that had obvious creosote staining on them, indicating to them they were in an area that had been affected by that creosote treatment area. So this is just showing these big, large boulders with the black staining. That is the visible creosote contamination. Slide 17 is just a bit of conclusion here. During the stipulated agreement and negotiations and getting everything kind of squared away, the operator had admitted that it had excavated, processed, and sold material from within that mining restricted area. Like I said before, the area consisted of approximately 0.75 acres, which amounted to roughly 22,600 cubic yards of material. And that activity was explicitly prohibited by a condition of their DRMS permit amendment 1, which was issued November 98. The operator is currently engaged in enforcement actions brought by CDPHE's Hazardous Materials Waste Management Division and EPA under CERCLA, resulting in a proposed administrative order of consent that includes a remedial investigation addendum, RIA, and focused feasibility study, FFS, and statement of work. The EPA likes their acronyms, so we want to make sure and spell all those out. Additionally, we have that the operator's CDPHE Water Quality Control Division discharge permit is and has been in excess of the allowable effluent limits. It is an important distinction to make that with this site in particular, we are dealing with two different arms of CDPHE. That Hazardous Materials Waste Management Division is their Superfund site assessment unit. And then when it comes to their discharge permit, we will be working with the Water Quality Control Division moving forward. So two different arms of the same agency. Slide 18, we're going to get into a little bit more of the details of the stipulated agreement. That stipulated agreement was signed Friday, June 16th, 2023, so just last week, and confirms that the operator is in violation of CRS 34, 32.5, 124 for failure to comply with the conditions of Reclamation Permit M 1977-170. The It also confirms that the operator is in violation of CRS 3432.5, 116, parent 4, parent H, for failure to minimize disturbances to the prevailing hydrologic balance by allowing the discharge of water in excess of the allowable effluent limits set forth in its CDPHE discharge permit. For this, in the stipulated agreement, the operator was assessed a civil penalty of $69,000, with $10,000 of that penalty suspended if the operator complies with all the corrective actions pursuant to CRS 3432.5, 124, parent 7. These next two slides, bear with me, they're really, really wordy, and I won't read them verbatim, but these are the corrective actions that were lined out in the stipulated agreement. So this is just pulled directly out of that stipulated agreement, which the operator has agreed to all 6 of these items, which these are the first 3. I will take a pause real quick. If the board has any specific questions on the corrective actions, I'd be happy to answer for at least these first 3, and then we'll get to the next 3 on the next slide.
Any questions from the board at this time? All right, I think we're good. Go ahead.
Excellent. Proceeding on, slide 20, as I said before, was continuation of the stipulated agreement corrective actions. The last 2 I did want to call out specifically is that they agreed that within 60 days of the effective date of the board order, they will submit that interim financial warranty, which will ensure that the division holds not less than $458,245. Additionally, they agreed to the issuance of a cease and desist order prohibiting all operations on site, including further excavation and processing of new materials until the operator makes specific operational requests to the division and written approval is provided from DRMS prior to any initiation of mining operations by Butala. Part of the reason for that is we want to really get a handle on if we still have any contamination left on site. Is it in stockpiles? We really want to get a handle on that. And if we can figure that out and there are areas that don't have any contamination, we'd be happy to work with the operator and make sure that they can still continue operations while still protecting human health and the environment, and make sure we try and catch all of that contamination and get it taken care of. So then, are there any questions on these remaining corrective actions? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Last slide is the staff recommendation, slide 21, that based on the agreed upon details of the signed stipulated agreement, division staff recommends that the board adopt the parties' signed stipulated agreement and confirm that in a signed board order. And at this time, if there's any remaining questions, be happy to take those. I'll go ahead and end my screen sharing. And the operator is present. I don't know if they had anything else to add, or we can answer questions first, whatever the board's pleasure.
Great. Thanks, Mr. West.
Thank you. This is Scott Clark. I'm an attorney with the law firm Burns, Fegan and Will, appearing on behalf of Butala Construction Company. Also appearing this morning is Pete Jackson, another attorney with my firm. We want to thank the division for working with us on putting together this settlement. I think it's a good step forward, and happy to try to answer questions this morning.
Any further comments or questions from the board? All good? Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion.
In regards to DRMS permit number M-1977-170, I move that the board approve the stipulated agreement between the division and the operator.
Second.
All right. Got to move motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. Glad you all were able to put all of these pieces together on a sensitive area. Yeah, thanks for the update there.
Excellent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Our final item for today is for file number M-2021-049 with the Elk Creek Sand and Gravel. Chuck, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Those of you, I think most of you were on the board last summer. We've got some new members who may not recall this, but this is the second time we've seen basically the same petition for declaratory order from this operator. There's a long history with this operator and in terms of enforcement actions. And I guess in 2020, those came to a head and the permit was revoked and the bond was forfeited. Yeah, and as you're aware, when that happens, the financial warranty goes to the division, who then will kind of take over the work of reclaiming that area. The Abandoned Mines program handles that. This declaratory order, I think, is a little bit clearer than the one from last year, but basically it comes down to the same two issues of whether or not, basically the operator is complaining that the division hasn't come out and done the reclamation work yet, and that there's some sense that this operator is trying to get a second or third or fourth bite at the apple on the order that was issued in 2020 through the declaratory order process. The way the board's orders work under the Administrative Procedures Act, there's a 35-day window for an operator or anyone who's affected by a board order to seek judicial review. That didn't happen with the 2020 or any of the board's orders going back with this operator that are kind of the subject of this petition for declaratory order. That puts the board in the position of what do you do with this order or with this petition? The rules kind of set up a multi-tiered process for deciding kind of a threshold question before the board is, do you do anything with the petition? So the board can decline to rule on a petition for declaratory order. Kind of the reasons for doing that is that it wouldn't resolve any controversy. And that's sort of what we have here, where the site will be reclaimed eventually by the Abandoned Mines program. I know that they've been in contact with the operator this year to try to get out there and do the work. With limited success is my understanding, but you can kind of look at the rule and sort of see what's the purpose of a petition for declaratory order and a declaratory order from the board. And, you know, the factors for this first branch on the decision tree of do you rule on it or not, just kind of goes back to, is there an actual controversy that would be resolved? And then another important factor to consider is, are there other processes or, you know, proceedings that whoever filed the declaratory order petition could or should have pursued to resolve the issue? And so I think in terms of what's before the board today, it's just that threshold question of, does the board decide this petition or not? And you know, I think another thing to consider for that decision is that the board's already seen this petition, or, you know, essentially what this petition is seeking in terms of relief was already filed last year, and the board declined to rule on the petition. So I don't think anything has changed other than the passage of a year. You've still got the same issues that were before the board last year, I guess, with the exception of the abandoned mines program has actually contacted the operator and has you know, actively pursued the timing to go do the reclamation work, which is kind of one of the two main cruxes of what this petition is asking for. So, I mean, at that, any questions from the board about what we're doing, or, you know, what the process is here, and happy to answer anything I can.
Thanks, Mr. Kuhlman. Any questions or comments from the board? With the abandoned mines program, you know, they're so basically just not able to get in contact with the operator and have a discussion.
No, so I know someone from the program reached out and did get in touch with the operator. But those of you who've had some experience with this operator, it's gone about as well as past interactions have. And so there's an ongoing attempt to schedule this. It's not for lack of trying on the abandoned mines program.
Thanks. Any further discussion there? Can we entertain a motion then?
In the matter of file number M-2021-049, I move that we decline to rule on the petition for a declaratory order.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mr. Singletary. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thanks for that explanation, Mr. Kuhlman. Just sounds like we might see it again at some point too, right?
possible.
Yeah. All right. That's it for board actions and enforcement hearings. It's like we have an education item for from staff as our last thing here. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Russ Means for the division. Feel a little bit under the gun and stuff to provide you with a riveting presentation. So as Director Brandon put it, today is something that I just wanted to give the board a kind of an update on something that the division staff is working on. Annually, around this time and stuff, all the different departments and stuff submit what are called WIGs to the governor, which are widely important goals. And for DNR, we go through our performance plan, and each division submits goals and stuff in that to try to work on and achieve and stuff in that for efficiency, transparency, and that. Our goal for the last several years has actually been the critical in mine inspection program that we have. Well, now that's become woven into our inspection fabric, if you will, and we've kind of reached a point and stuff where that's reached its top end there, become kind of stale. So this year we wanted to look at something that was a little bit different, and over the last couple of years, the board certainly has heard from the public and sometimes from operators and stuff, the frustrations with our the public notice process. And so that includes not only the general public, but other agencies and things like that. So this year, we're going to embark on a multi-year project, if you will, a goal to review agency and public notice processes to see where we can gain efficiencies, maybe identify some ways and stuff to bring this notice process into the 21st century. And we're going to be doing that through several different avenues. First and stuff, we're going to be doing a survey that we'll put out on the website, and we'll also send to operators and let other stakeholders and stuff know that. And that survey we're putting together is going to be asking some questions about current process, asking for ideas. You know, when we hear that, well, I don't read the newspaper anymore. That's right, hardly anybody ever does. So what are some of the alternatives and stuff for public notice? And, you know, we've talked about it, and there's not a lot of feedback and stuff as what's the best next alternative. So we're going to be exploring that. We're also going to be looking at our notice process with agencies. We send out notices, and one of our first measurables is going to be trying to improve the interaction with agencies and stuff as we move forward. Currently, just on a quick look, we send out of the number of notices that we sent out in 2022-23 time period, we had about 15% return and stuff on that from other agencies. And part of that is where they're going. We don't get some comments and stuff in that they're ignored or just put aside or whatever. So the multi-prong and stuff on this is we're going to start the survey and run it for a while to try to gather information. But then we're also going to be meeting with other agencies such as CPW, DWR, Soil Conservation District and stuff is on our list, CDOT, because we've had issues and stuff that have popped up in front of the board, and we would like to, in particular, try to improve our communications and stuff with those agencies to get timely comments and also have them understand our processes and stuff so that the comments that we get back are useful and helpful. So with that, you know, the whole thing, instead, this is all tied in also with our initiatives and stuff to improve the website and using QR codes and that. So like I said, this was just to give you an update on where we're going to be going over the next couple of years. This is going to take a while. Once we get some information together, identify all of our stakeholders, we'll have some additional stakeholder meetings. And out of that, we may be looking at some rule making and stuff in that, and potentially some legislative work and stuff, but that's down the road. And so staff will keep you up to date on that as we move forward. And we're certainly, once we get the survey up, we'll let you know, and you're all invited to give us some feedback and stuff in there on your ideas as well. And with that, I'll close up, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Looks like everybody gets stuff in that is ready for lunch. All right, thank you.
Yeah, great to hear moving forward on that. You know, it's a challenge. I completely understand that, but you know, I think actively pursuing better communication among departments on the issues we see here is a good thing to just have as much fairness and you know, transparency as possible. So with that, I think I don't think we have a need to go to executive session today. And I will put this meeting as adjourned. Or
I was just gonna make sure that there's no members of the public who are.
oh yeah, public comment.
Nope, not today.
Not today.
Okay. All right. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.